All right, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about something that might sound really small, but I honestly believe it's one of the biggest reasons that some people succeed long term and others burn out or even disappear, or maybe just stay stuck in this cycle of starting over. We're talking about today the minimum that you can give your life, even on the worst days. Ever wonder what it really takes to build a business and a life that feels like yours? Welcome to That Big CEO Energy. I'm Callie, entrepreneur, operations whiz, and your go-to for the real, raw, and unfiltered side of business and life. Because let's be honest, entrepreneurship isn't just about strategy and success. It's about figuring out who you are in the messy middle, trying new things, well, just because you can, and creating a life that actually fits you. From solo deep dives to candid convos with powerhouse business owners, we're talking all about the highs and the lows and the why did no one warn me about this moments that come while chasing big dreams. So let's get uncomfortable, embrace the chaos, and make it happen. So, we're not going to talk about hustling. We're not going to talk about grinding. We're not going to talk about doing more or even waking up at 4 a.m. to prove that you want it badly enough. I just feel like, right now in my life, I have gone back to the office, which has been an interesting transition. And, after 6 years of working at home by myself, a lot of you know that I have a wonderful blended family that the kids are pretty much grown, like pretty much grown. And the girls, while they still live at home, are so busy. They are going to work. They are both going to school right now when we're listening to this. And it's just one of those times that I had to look around and really identify, do I want to be at home all of the time? And the short answer was no. Do I love my clients and all that I do? Yes. And I have kept most of them. And I love them dearly. I love them all dearly, even the ones that I had to make a decision, right? And so that has yielded me getting up at 3 a.m. every day. And you are probably going, oh, what in the world? Why would you trade all of that, staying at home, for getting up at 3 a.m. to make sure that your client's work is done on time and you are to work on time? And the reality of the situation is my husband already gets up at like 3:20 because he has a 2-hour commute to work. You probably are also raising your eyebrows at that. However, some of you that live out in California are like 2 hours sitting in traffic. Yeah, I do that every day, right? And it's just a matter of perspective. And so one of the things that has really come to the surface for me is figuring out, even on the days that I don't want to do literally anything. And I will just share with you that that is regular human behavior. Not everybody at the same time, every day that they get up, wakes up, puts their feet on the ground and goes, today is going to be a great day. I don't care how much money you have, you're still a human, right? Like even the most richest people in the world, they're still human. And they still wake up sometimes having a bad day. And that's okay, because if you touch their skin, they are human. And specifically today, I want to really talk about consistency, even on your worst days, and what that actually means. Because a lot of it we hear from social media, society, all the things, just push through. Just grind more, just hustle more, just, set your worst day to the side, don't acknowledge it. And, you have goals to meet, you have metrics to meet, and you need to do all of the things. And the reality is that nobody says loudly enough, your best days don't define your success. Your worst days do. And it sounds a little counterintuitive, but let me explain, and we're going to get into it. But how staying consistent, even on your worst days, is what actually builds momentum, confidence, and trust within yourself. Like, think about it. Your tired days, your discouraged days, your I don't even know why I started this days, those are the days that matter. And if you've been waiting, like, to feel some sort of overt motivation before you show up, then this episode is really for you. Let me start by saying this super, super clearly. You don't fail because you lack discipline. You actually fail because you expect yourself to operate at 100% capacity 100% of the time. That is your expectation. And what I've realized, even through this small transition that I've had, is that I have removed the word failure off the table. I have removed the word discipline off the table and the word motivation off the table. And I just expect myself to operate at a capacity that when I wake up in the morning, I assess what that is. And that's part of being in tune with your body. But I assess, how do I feel today? Do I feel like a complete train wreck? And if I feel like a complete train wreck, then I really have to identify, what is the minimum effective thing that I can do to still make me feel like I'm not a complete failure. And it's not about using the word failure in that sense, because I've removed it off the table. It's about allowing myself and my brain to come back into bed at the end of the evening and go, you know what? Today was a little bit of a hard day, and it could have ended up being the worst day, but it wasn't. And finding that gratitude at the end of the day. But when you expect yourself to still work at 100% capacity at 100% of the time and just push through, even though topically, right? Yep, you met all your goals and you met all your metrics, you're still climbing into bed at the end of the night going, man, I just feel like a failure. And you're not celebrating yourself. You're not celebrating the fact that maybe you woke up still feeling what was heavy the day before, and yet you got up, you still went to the gym, right? You still did whatever those minimum things are for you. And at the end of the day, you can crawl in bed and you can go, yep, I'm still grateful because I did whatever my minimum is to get through the day. And that, when you expect yourself to operate at 100% capacity at 100% of the time, friends, that's not ambition. That's literally the recipe for burnout. And if you want all the episodes on burnout, I will list them in the show notes for you. But somewhere along the way, we were sold this idea that consistency means we're doing the same amount every single day. That we don't get to give ourselves the same thing at a lower capacity. And that's not what consistency actually is. Consistency is adjusting so you don't quit entirely. Consistency is saying, you know what? I can't do everything today, but I can do something. And that something, that's the minimum, whatever that is for you. And I'm going to go ahead and define it, and you can kind of wrap this around what it means for you. But the minimum to me is the smallest possible thing that still moves you forward. It's not the perfect action. It's not the impressive thing that you do. It's not the Instagram worthy thing, right? Where we live in this world where, quote unquote, everything is content. Guess what? Not everything in your life is content, because sometimes in your life, you just have to do the smallest possible thing that moves you forward for that day. And if you're thinking about, how can I put this on the internet? Then that then is circulating back to this idea that you're doing 100% capacity 100% of the time. And I'm just going to say this out loud. We have to think about ourselves and our mental capacity before we think about others on the internet, complete strangers. So, the smallest thing that keeps the habit alive. It's the smallest thing that maintains the momentum that you decided at the beginning of the year, the beginning of the week, whatever that was, that maintains the momentum. The smallest thing that reinforces this idea of, I am the kind of person who shows up. That's it. That's the end of the sentence. I am the kind of person who shows up. And I want you to hear this next part slowly. The goal on the hard days is not progress. The goal is continuity. The goal on the hard days is not progress. The goal is continuity. Because momentum doesn't die when you slow down. Momentum dies when you stop. There's still momentum when you think about kind of like, I don't know, a train, right? Like when a train slows down, there is still a locomotive on the back end that is pushing the train. It's slow, but it's still moving forward, right? And so that is the same thought process when we think about what is the smallest possible action that moves us forward. And here's where people get tripped up, right? They think, if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it at all. It's that all or nothing thinking. And sometimes, you guys, I fall into this trap too. It was literally last week, I think, where I had this, I've been going to the gym consistently since probably the middle of December, when I was cleared at 4 weeks to do like light lifting. And during that time, and even last week, I have been just feeling super weak, because I am, right? Like, I had a major surgery. I have a lot of fat loss that has happened. And naturally, with fat loss, you lose muscle loss when you have like, I wasn't lifting. I wasn't like treating myself kindly. And so I had this weird thought of like, well, if I can't lift heavy, then I'm just not going to do it at all. And what a weird thing to say. Like, what a weird thing. And the other thing that people get tripped up on is they think like, if I can't give it my best, I shouldn't bother. And they also think that if I can't hit the full workout, or like write the whole post, or finish the project, or launch the thing, right? Like, insert whatever it is, this absolute all or nothing thinking, then I'll wait. And like, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Because in that waiting, that's where confidence erodes. Because every time I don't show up for myself, every time you don't show up for yourself, we reinforce the idea and the belief in our head that you can't be trusted. Not by other people, but by yourself. And rebuilding trust with myself is so much harder than maintaining it. And so I've really been on this mission of helping myself understand, like, I am in a lot of ways rebuilding trust with myself in a lot of different areas. And when I transitioned back into having a 9-to-5 job, I had to rebuild the trust that I had to have a routine. I am a very routine-oriented person, but I also had to rebuild it with the frame of mind that if I was having a bad day, I had to pick and choose what it is that's still moving me forward, that still gives me confidence, but also continues to build trust within myself and maintain it. Let's talk real life for just 1 second. There are days, right, when you are fired up. You're clear, you're focused, you're creative. Like, those are the days that we love to post about. But then there's also these days that you're exhausted. Your body feels heavy. Your brain is foggy. You're emotionally done. You're literally questioning everything. Those days still count. And those are the days that when the minimum becomes your lifeline. Because instead of asking, what should I do? You start to ask, what can I do? Right? Like when I wake up and I just instantly feel like today is not the day. I am not the one. There is reframing there of, okay, what should I do to make me feel like I am still in this momentum state? And when I flipped that on its head and said, what can I do? I reframed it to say, what can I do to make me feel better in this moment? And most of the time, it's moving my body. Like, that's just a personal thing for me. But I want to give you some examples. Like, if you normally work out for 45 minutes, right? Your minimum might be 5 minutes of stretching. If you normally write 1,000 words every day, your minimum might be opening the document and writing 1 sentence. If you normally show up online with energy and confidence, your minimum might be posting something so simple and engaging with 1 person or not even showing up at all that day. And it's not about painting this pretty picture online. It is literally about protecting your peace. And maybe if you normally tackle big strategic decisions in your company, maybe your minimum for that day might be reviewing 1 note or revisiting your priorities for 5 minutes or delegating whatever decision that is to someone else. It's not about lowering the bar. Do you see? It's about protecting the habit that you have put in place. So for me, what that looks like is when I am on my A game and my mornings are going top notch, this is sort of like how my day goes through. I wake up at 3:30, just kind of depends. I go and I sit and I write and I spend time with Jesus and I do my Bible study. I do that for about an hour. So that's about 3:30 to 4:30. And then from 4:30 to about 5:36, I work on client work, delegate tasks to my VA, whatever that is. And then I take care of my dogs because by that time they're wrestling. And then I throw my gym clothes on. I drink my protein shake or get my little bar, and I'm off to the gym. And at the gym, right now I have a priority of running a 5K in February. So I either lift and run or I just run. It just kind of depends on the day and what I have written out. And then when I come home, I make breakfast, I take a shower, I pack my stuff for the day, and I'm out the door. And then on lunch, I do more client work and I eat. And then when I get home, generally now, which has been really weird, Chris makes dinner. And then I might have a client meeting that night. If I don't, I spend my time either reading or finishing up client work. And then I prepare myself for bed. Like that is my habit, right? Every day, Monday through Friday, that is my habit. However, sometimes I don't feel like going to the gym that day. I just don't. And so I think to myself, okay, like I'm just going to spend my morning working, which is totally fine, getting client work done. And I will go to the gym for a half hour. And so then I have to prioritize, do I run or do I lift? And it really depends on where I am in my running cycle for the week. So if I'm early in the week, I'm like, oh, well, I can skip it because I have the rest of the week to make up. So I'll lift today. And that's all I do. I go in, I spend 20 minutes of lifting, I walk 10 minutes on the treadmill, and I'm out, right? That is my minimum. That is what it is. And so we just have to think about, again, it's not lowering the bar. It's protecting my habits. I still have my habits in my very timely manner, but I'm adjusting them, right? I'm taking more care for myself. I'm understanding what it is that I don't have energy for, I don't want to do, but I'm still going to show up. And I want to say this clearly because some of you need permission that you shouldn't need. Doing less on hard days doesn't make you lazy. It makes you sustainable. The people who last the longest aren't the most intense. They're actually the most adaptable. They know when to push and they know when to protect their energy so that they can come back tomorrow. So if you needed to hear that today, Big Sis is here to give it to you. And I now want to talk about the mindset shift that makes this work. When you lay your head down at the end of the day, it is not about did I do enough today? It's about did I show up today? Did I show up in my habits today? Because showing up is the win. And when you redefine what the win is, you literally change everything. You stop living in a constant state of failure. You stop feeling behind. You stop quitting on yourself every time life gets heavy. You build evidence. And that evidence builds confidence. So here's something that I've learned along the way is most people actually don't quit because they're incapable. They quit because they make consistency too expensive. If it takes too much energy, right? Too much of showing up as perfect, too much of having pressure, eventually they cash out because it's so overwhelming. But the minimum keeps the cost low enough that you can afford to stay in the game even when life is chaotic, even when motivation disappears. And Rachel Hollis says hope is not a strategy, right? And I feel like motivation and hope live in the same category. But even when you're not sure where all of this is going, the minimum keeps the cost low enough. And let's just talk about identity for a second, because this is where the real magic happens. Every time you show up, even in the smallest way, you reinforce an identity. I'm someone who follows through. I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. I'm someone who doesn't disappear when things get hard. And that identity compounds on itself, and it compounds and reinforces to yourself that consistency stops being something that you are forcing, and it becomes who you are. Like, I have developed such an ingrained thing of, I don't say to myself, I get to go to the gym today. I do use the phrase, I got to go to the gym today. And it's because it is a non-negotiable in my day. I love going to the gym. I love running. I have found things that I love doing. And so when I use it as a non-negotiable, I will use the word like have to, God, whatever, because I'm standing on that. I'm standing on it. Maybe in the beginning, you have to use the language I get to, and that's okay. But when I have non-negotiables and habits that I know that I want to check off to be my very best self, even if it's the minimum, then I understand with myself that I have to do the things that I promised to myself that I was going to do. And there will be days when the minimum feels laughably small. Like, you might think to yourself, like this doesn't even count. What am I doing? Friend, it counts. It counts because you didn't break the chain. It counts because you didn't ghost your goals. It counts because you practice staying in a relationship with yourself. And that matters more than output. So here's the question I want you to sit with. What is the smallest version of this habit, whatever this habit is for you, that still keeps me aligned with who I want to be? What's the smallest version of this habit that still keeps me aligned with who I want to be? Not who you want to impress, not who you think you should be, who you actually want to become. And you can answer that question for your work. You can answer that question for your health. You can answer that question for your leadership, your life, your relationships. And then write it down. Because clarity makes hard days easier. Some seasons require rest, not reduced effort. I just want you to understand that. But the minimum doesn't mean pushing through exhaustion that needs care. It doesn't mean ignoring your body or emotions. And sometimes it's choosing recovery so you don't collapse later. Listening to yourself is part of consistency. So here's what I want you to take with you today. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop expecting maximum effort every day. And gosh darn it, you guys, stop quitting just because today doesn't look like yesterday. Decide what your minimum is. Protect your momentum. And keep your head in the game, because success isn't built on your best days. It's built on your willingness to show up even on the hard ones. Even quietly. Even imperfectly. Even just for 5 minutes. It counts. And if no one has told you this lately, I'm proud of you for staying, for trying, for continuing, but keep going. Do not make it harder than it has to be. You don't need more motivation. You need a smaller promise that you can keep. And that's big CEO energy. Hey friend, thanks for hanging out with me today. If something in this episode clicked for you, I want you to shoot me a DM over on Instagram. The link is in the show notes. Let's chat about how you're making the messy middle work for you. If you loved what you heard, would you mind sharing this episode with a friend who needs to hear it too? And drop a quick review if you don't mind. It helps get the word out, and I appreciate it more than you know. Catch you in the next one.